So I'd like to talk about what I'm doing within the Destiny I process and how I have changed me. I wouldn't say that it has changed me, how I have changed me. It's kind of funny because a couple of years ago, I never would have imagined me doing something like this. In fact, I looked at all these online things as just something that I wasn't interested in. And then I didn't look at any of them actually, but I never would have imagined me actually uh, doing something, studying something, working with a group of people. I could have seen myself doing an online course or something like that, but it always probably would have been something to put a piece of paper on the wall or something that would enable me to go from point A to point B, perhaps get some money, a different kind of job. So anyway, I guess I started considering doing the I process, and it wasn't called the I process. Back then it was called SRA several years ago. I had been studying the Destiny material for quite some time, and I realized that there was a lot more to this material than people were actually even seeing it. And I saw some people just couldn't get through even very little bits of this material. It's not that it's so complicated, it's so complex. There's so much to it for the average human mind to take in. It's quite a lot. And I studied it a lot because I was, you can say, fascinated by it. It presented answers to me that I knew were there, but I thought I had to wait till I died to get these answers, to be honest. And it, well, it presented answers, but I had to understand them. Well, again, that's another thing. To understand them, I really had to research them, but still I didn't understand them. I realized that to understand something, you have to stand as it, one with it, as a leg understands a table. You have to be one with it. You have to live it. Otherwise, we're not understanding it. Otherwise, it's just knowledge and information. So it was about a year or two ago that I considered doing the SRA course, as it was called back then. And to be honest, I considered it because I wanted to know more. I thought I would get inside scoop, so to speak, on these things. And I guess I have to a certain extent. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of useful tools that I had access to and have used somewhat. But I've also found that the tools, one's ability to use these tools is equal to one's ability to use them. In other words, you might have a tool, but if your ability, self-honesty, let's call it that, your self-honesty, who you are, is not one with and equal to what you're trying to do, it just doesn't work. So, since I've been studying in the I process, I guess I started last May, so it's been about 8 or 9 months of studying in the I process. And before that time, I spent probably at least a year to a year and a half studying the Destiny material. Now, I mean really studying, spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day, sometimes more, watching the videos, studying. There's a lot of material to cover. And again, I was trying to understand it from a position of putting it in the brain and understanding it, which I realized after quite some time that it's knowledge and information until it's applied, until it's actually lived. So what And how have I changed within doing the I process? Well, that's really easy for me to answer. And simplistic way that I'll say is my whole world, yeah, much of my world has changed completely. Which is kind of funny because in reality, is it my world that's changed, or is it me that has changed how I see my world? Does it make a difference? I don't know. I don't think so. I've changed. I've changed, and within and as me changing, my world has changed because it's my world. It's my world as I see it. Um, the first thing that I noticed really, and this came about from doing mind constructs, really just breaking apart patterns using memory, looking at, for example, one specific memory and breaking that down, labeling all of these, call them the timelines, labeling the parts of the mind construct for what they are. For example, beliefs, judgment, justification, manipulation of others, self-manipulation, etc. And in doing so, I started noticing the patterns. I started noticing how much of what actually goes on, went on, and still does to an extent in my world that was just simply not real. It all happened up here. Yet I was living it as though it was real, but it wasn't real. And for example, emotions, anger, judgment, beliefs, you live them up here and you experience it as real because we experience generally within the solar plexus area, we experience the energy, the chemical imbalances associated with this that affect the body. For example, anger, we experience that as pain, jealousy, etc. We experience that as though it's real, but where does it happen? It happens in the mind. And so then studying these things, the first major thing I did was to mind construct on my relationship with my wife. And as I stated before in a previous video, I used to see her as someone who didn't enjoy speaking so much. And I just accepted that. I said, okay. So within doing this mind construct, I started seeing that it was actually me. Yeah, amazing. That didn't enjoy listening to her or other people. You know, I had specifically just limited myself to that which I enjoyed listening to, that which I wanted to listen to. And within that, I'd so limited myself and limited the perception of other people, of my world, to the limitations of definitions that I had placed on everything, that I have placed on everything. So when I took apart, really examined this mind construct, labeled all of the components, and then did self-forgiveness on them to actually release myself of, let's say, the energetic hold that these memories have on me in terms of the way I have created myself. So to release myself of that, and we also write out self-corrective statements so that the next time I find myself entering into a pattern, a similar pattern, I just stop, I breathe, I'm here, and I say, no, I'm not going down that road. And within doing this, the first thing that I realized while I was actually doing this was how my relationship with my wife changed. I noticed her, well, she just started talking more and opening up more and being more expressive. Now, the funny thing is, and I'm still not certain, was it I who changed? Definitely, I changed. But did she also change? Did she also change? I don't know. But I guess at this point, I don't really. It doesn't matter. What's changed is my world has changed, and I'm enjoying myself a lot better. Continuing on, for example, within the workplace, when I'm out there in environments, in public, etc. I've also noticed that, wow, another point within me, which I've noticed coming up regularly, and I've been changing it, is my, let's say before, um, view anything that does not agree with my perception of how I'm doing something as an attack on me. And my tendency as the personality would be to, see anything coming my way, constructive criticism or something like that, as an attack on me, and would be to set up a wall here and counterattack with all sorts of different things that I see now made my life, I accepted and allowed it, but it just, compared to now, it just made my life a lot more unpleasant. And I went through a lot of things that I didn't have to go through. And this has been going on for, 20, 30 years, let's say, maybe longer. About 47 now, so a long time. So with regards to that, my world, how I see the outside world, how I interact with people has been changing too. So again, within the I process, the Destiny I process, something that I never would have imagined me doing 3-4 years ago, I'm currently doing now, and I'm getting a lot of results. So within my process, personally, I'm still in the stage where I'm looking at, yes, changing the world. I want that. But I realize that I've got to change me. I change me, and then I can change the world. First, it's about me, understanding who I am, and then changing me to change my world so that I am no longer limited by definitions, so that I am no longer limited by reactions that come up based on outside influences. So for example, someone might say something to me, and before a reaction would come up, an uncontrollable reaction would come up. And it's as though I was being controlled by the mind consciousness system, the mind. So what I'm doing is stopping those controls, and it's basically limitation, stopping the definitions to stop the limitation. So within my process, the I process now, honestly speaking, it's still about me. I would like to say that, yeah, it's about making the world a better place, and yes, it is. But I'm not going to do that from a starting point of me not first correcting me, and that's what I'm doing. And as I said, my world has been changing. I'm enjoying myself. I'm learning how to be in the system, this world system, the money system, but not of the system. Whereas before, I used to know I was in a system, but my approach to that was to manipulate the system and everyone else in the system so that I would be able to walk through, direct myself. But I directed myself from a point of manipulating the system and other people too. From a starting point of fear, from a starting point of not being vulnerable, not letting my guard down because I was afraid that if I did, I might be attacked. Now I'm starting to be here in the system. I understand that, but less and less of the system, so that I am able to direct myself through the system, but at the same time, no longer less and less. I'm still doing it to a certain extent, but eventually no longer to have to use, or no longer to feel that I have to use these manipulation tactics, no longer feel that I have to keep my guard up to protect myself because I'm afraid that someone is going to harm me should I actually stand there vulnerable. So again, in the I process, that's where I am now. And I guess we could take, aside from all that, you know, there's more to it. Of course, the equal money system, the changing the world, bringing about equality, an equal inequality system within this world, fixing the problems. This group of people, Destonians, that's what we are doing. But within that understanding, I've come to the understanding that it starts with self. That's why it's called the I process. It starts with a process of self, understanding how I have created myself, understanding what I am. And then you can almost say, as is said, peeling off the onion layers, deconstructing myself so that eventually I'll just be here with no definitions, not defined by anyone, not even myself. And my ability to stand in this world, to participate in correcting this world, bringing about an equal money system, bringing about an equality system, I see is actually equal, one with an equal to that where I am in this process. So it's moving forward, and I see it. I'm very satisfied with it. There it is. Okay, that's a start. I'll get to more later. Next video I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about amnesia that I had as a child. Okay.